the antenna go? How is this so hard? I just want to be vintage. God. No. I'm not getting tempted by you, Netflix. I'm being vintage here. I'm gonna listen to the radio. What? Look, you can't judge me. This is much easier. What am I gonna do? Spend hours turning an actual dial? Trying to find a station that doesn't play just commercials, and then when I do, finding the exact same song that's been playing over and over on every major station? I mean, think about that song. That one song that we're not going to name in this video because it would date it immediately, but do you want to hear it again? Of course you don't. So why would you be listening to radio? This is much better.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Tonight, let me welcome a really good special guest. Someone has described her as Gaga, or also as someone who says it really loud and says it on the air. Tonight, let me welcome Radio.
Why, thank you, Mauricio. Thank you very much indeed for having me here.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you here. So I think we should really look at your amazing and really long career.
Oh gosh, you make it sound like I'm ancient.
Not at all. You're in your prime time. Let's actually take a look back at that.
In the arms of the angel, fly away.
Just kidding. Anyway, here's a clip. Take a look. Radio got her start in 1873 when James Clerk Maxwell showed mathematically that electronic magnetic waves could travel through air. And then there was Nikola Tesla, of course, who discovered the young upstart. Of course, every artist has to start local, and radio was not different. In 1896, when Guglielmo Marconi quite literally built her, he made a device capable of sending signals up to 1.5 miles, and then, well, there was nothing stopping radio. Most artists say that they made it when they become transatlantic, and radio did that. Traveling all the way from Clifton, Ireland to Newfoundland, Canada. But she didn't stop there, only gathering more commercial success, starting in 1901 with the invention of the spark gap transmitter. And by the time crystal radio sets appeared on scene, there was nothing stopping her. She made it to every single living room in America, truly the talk of the town. And for many, the most important part was the connection they built with radio and with each other. But there was still something holding her back. The dreaded AM waves only allowed radio to be broadcast locally. Once again, despite the grid, she was being stopped by large buildings. In 1933 came along Edwin H. Armstrong. And just like that, radio could not go further than even before. No static, no blockage. As more and more fans appeared, they got closer to radio. They wanted more. An autograph was not enough. They wanted to take her with them, like a close friend, and soon they could. Transistors meant radio was closer to the people and of course closer to her many, many adoring fans.
Well, wasn't that just lovely?
I'm glad you like that. But we're not only here to talk about your past, but also your future. So I'm really happy you're here with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I have to say, it's a bit weird being on TV. I was always told I had a face for radio.
Well, to keep tonight's show short and sweet, I want to focus on community radio and the role that you've played in Canada. I hope you're ready for the questions.
Always.
Well, I'm just going to start to just ask you to tell us more about yourself and your role as community radio in the Canadian context.
Well, tonight I'm really speaking as community radio because, as you know, I absolutely love the closeness it brings. I want to be as close as possible to my many adoring fans. In Canada, there's 3 types of broadcasting. National or public radio focuses on themes of culture, identity, and nation building through news, information, and art. Commercial radio is more interested in selling advertisements and making profit. Not that there's anything wrong with that, of course, but the content is usually closer to top 40 music, breaking news, things that people will listen to. Now, community radio, well, we're interested in serving a small audience. We focus on building community and local creators.
Very interesting. And that's precisely why I wanted to bring you here tonight. So can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what really makes you distinct from those other 2 types of radio?
Well, the main goal and purpose of community radio is to provide a platform that enables individuals, organizations, and communities to create, and also empower individuals to be storytellers, share experiences to make original content. In other parts of the world, community radio acts as a vehicle to unify the voluntary sector, civil societies, NGOs, and citizens to further development aims.
That's very true. And also we need to remember that we live in a really unequal world and that in many places people don't have electricity or they simply don't know how to write or read. I know that you have a really close relationship with UNESCO. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Ah, yes, always the gossip about my relationship with the UNESCO. No, it's not like that. We're just really good friends. Even though radio has been replaced by many other media forums, I guess UNESCO really sees me for who I am. It recognizes me and advocates for community radio all of the time. UNESCO sees community radio as a medium that gives voice to the voiceless. It serves as the mouthpiece of the marginalized and is at the heart of communication and democratic processes within societies. With community radio, citizens have the means to make their own views known on decisions that concern them. The notions of transparency and good governance are more accessible and democracy is reinforced. Not to toot my own horn, but I really do have the ability to share timely and relevant information on development issues, opportunities, experiences, life skills, and public interests. In the Canadian context, it has been pivotal for Indigenous development.
Of course, you're definitely an icon. And because tonight we're dedicating this show entirely to you, I want to give you the opportunity to connect with your audience. And I know how much you love them.
Yes, I wouldn't be here without them. I love them and try to see them whenever I can.
Well, let's take a look at that now.
Point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. Radio has played a very important role in defending the freedom of expression of Indigenous communities. Indigenous community radio also provides the most effective way of disseminating information on issues affecting the communities. For instance, broadcasting information about the violence and incidents happening inside the communities. Some people mention that hearing the community leaders' interviews is really important for them. And most important, raising public awareness of human rights violations happening in Indigenous communities. But what is happening around the world? Let's watch a small clip of the Cultural Survival's Indigenous Rights Radio, who use the power of the radio to inform Indigenous communities about their rights.
Kwe, Yao, hello. My name is Siltlani or Banshee Hanyus, and I'm from Newhawk Territory, also referred to by some as Bellacoola, British Columbia. I'm here today on Algonquin Territory on behalf of Newhawk Radio. Newhawk Radio is a small, low-powered, commercial-free community radio station that has a license exemption order from CRTC as a native radio undertaking. The Newhawk Nation considers ourselves a sovereign nation. We have long asserted our rights and our obligations to our ancestral territory. We have never ceded, never sold, surrendered, nor lost our lands through act of war or treaty. Historically, there has been no sit-down between the Newhawk Nation and Canada.
The Indigenous broadcasting sector is an integral part of Canada's diverse media landscape and provides a unique tool offering by broadcasting content that preserves Canada Aboriginal languages. It helps to retain cultural traditions and offers opportunities for Indigenous youth across the country to participate in media production. According to the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission public records, there are now 47 companies holding licenses for native TV radio stations in Canada. These stations largely serve rural and unreserved Indigenous populations across Canada. Indigenous radio remains an important subject of study, particularly because there has been very little research into the state of the sector and how it can be improved to better serve its intended audiences and support other Indigenous media products. Canada describes it as the birthplace of community radio. It's home to a long history of non-public, non-private radio practices and policies designed to provide community access to the airwaves. In Canada, the region of community radio practices may be rooted in the resistance to Anglo-colonization by diverse groups of Indigenous nations, Quebecois social movements, refugees, and immigrants. Across northern Canada, Indigenous nations install trail radio networks to link cultural and insulated communities. In cities and towns across Quebec, radio broadcasts organized by labor, feminist, and community movements help to amplify the quiet revolution. Similarly, in cities like Vancouver and Montreal, community media activists set up radio as a tool for organizing low-income communities. Radio has a great capacity for revitalizing Indigenous language and culture through media empowerment. There are numerous scholars, activists, and media practitioners who are working to strengthen the Indigenous presence within the Canadian media system. Indigenous community radio has proven that it's able not only to mobilize Indigenous people, but also to influence policies and hold governments into account. During election times, Indigenous community radio raise awareness and enhance participation of people in sharing the votes. Indigenous community radio is a powerful tool to decolonize minds and create a safe and cultural sense and pride.
You need a spot welder for this? This kid says 5 years old and up. What 5-year-old has access to a spot welder and who is raising them? God, this is so hard.
Radio is a way for communities to express themselves.
If you don't support radio, then are you against these communities?
How are you connecting to the people close to you?
Are you going to give up on this tool of
Are
development?
you going to give up on this tool of development?
Are you going to give up on those tools for
How
development?
are you connecting to the people
Radio is
close
a way
to
for
you?
communities to express themselves.
Are you going to give up on this tool of development?
Look, I get it, okay? If you're like me and you've seen way too many movies, you probably have this inexplicable desire to listen to your little transistor radio in some kind of baby boomer rebellious act. But the truth is, this may just be a thing of the past. I mean, unless you own a spot welder, of course. But see, what community radio needs is not some big institution saying it's important and making us feel like it's mandatory to listen to. What community radio needs is an enthusiastic audience. So what if you have to play popular music on your community radio station? It's not like Indigenous people live in this bubble where Adele isn't a thing. Wait, we said we weren't going to date this video by mentioning musicians.
Well, she's already a classic.
Oh, she's a classic. Okay, well, anyway, play Adele, play some other popular music. Matter of fact, play some powwow remixes, because that stuff slaps. Let me show you. So listen, it'd be very easy for me to sit here and tell you that radio is dead. Sorry, Indigenous people. Go find something else. Go make a TikTok or something. Wait, they already do that? What? No.
Native person bringing a friend to the res for the first time. Thank you kindly for bringing me to your reservation. Bro, it's just called a res, okay? Just come on in my house here.
Look over there. It's a Native American. Shh. Oh my gosh, he even drinks water. Indigenous. Look at him blink. He blinks like a chief. Shh. Oh, he's missing powwow. Oh, never mind. He was just yawning. His skin is so brown like the earth that he walks on. He's looking up at his ancestors. Oh my gosh, I've never seen this before. Wow.
Okay, but this kid is amazing. See, this is the point. Culture doesn't wait for radio. But it has to evolve with the culture, doesn't it? So what's stopping them? Well, it's certainly not this wish to maintain culture as this pristine thing. No, it's budget. Usually these community radios are funded by local governments, and so they're kind of bound to that. In the meantime, CBC can produce dozens upon dozens of Indigenous podcasts, giving a platform to voices, yes, but mostly to established voices, people who are worth hearing, but also people who've probably been featured on the Huffington Post, or who've given a TED Talk at some point. So should we get rid of community radio since YouTube allows voices to be expressed all over the world and CBC has this stronghold on First Nation-oriented podcasts? I mean, I'm gonna say no, but it's a soft kind of no. Speaking of budget, this video was sponsored by Geneva International, the podcasting initiative here at the Graduate Institute. No, really, they sponsored us. They gave us this little radio kit thingy that takes way too many tools to build. But we're thankful for it anyway, and thank you to Geneva International. We don't really have any discount codes to share with you guys because Geneva International is 100% free. You can go and listen to their podcasts on any podcatcher of your choice. And you can also subscribe to their channel right down here. In the meantime, I guess they say keep radios in case of natural disasters, so I guess I'll keep this. I need to get batteries though.